the chorus sound in there. I just want to hear it in there.
I think this album came together really easily because we were, as people, very optimistic about the future. So we started off this record with a kind of a sense of freedom, a sense of optimism, and a sense of kind of anything is possible now.
I think this is the record that we had the most material when we went in to record it, you know, and I think a lot of it kind of stemmed from mine and Brian's kind of frustration with the situation we were in during the Meds session.
At the end of the Meds tour, Placebo was kind of a band only really in name. In a way, it had sort of ceased to become a band and it's sort of become a brand, almost. What that meant to me was that it seemed like you were kind of selling something as opposed to sort of living something. I've spent the past 15 years of my life sort of creating a world where, you know, creating a sort of an alternative universe where you don't really need to go to work at the same time of day every day, that you don't have to hate the people that you work with, that you don't have to sit at a desk and do things which are soul-destroying. And surely being in a band is this wonderful, creative, expressive alternative to that.
As a band, we continuously write. I think what happened during the Meds tour was that me and Brian, we were writing separately, individually, not really knowing that the other person was writing. And during sound checks, where we usually try out new material, that wasn't really happening on the tour. But towards the end of the Meds tour, me and Brian kind of came together and said, listen, you know, we got to, you know, steer this ship back on its right track. And that's when we started to play each other the stuff that we'd written individually, and that's kind of when the concept of this new record, you know, came about.
I had a few things in my mind when it sort of came to making a new record. I wanted to make a record which was very colorful, because I'd felt that Meds was pretty dark and pretty down. And there were certain moments on Meds which are probably the bleakest moments that sort of musically and emotionally that we've had in our career. And I wanted to do something which was kind of a bit more upbeat and a bit more optimistic. Almost psychedelic in the true sense of the word, not, you know, not necessarily inspired directly by psychedelic music, but just full of color, basically.
Just a feeling that we still had the urge, and we still felt that we had things to write about and you know, new musical avenues to explore together.
We got a new drummer in the band. We weren't tied down to a record contract anymore. What Placebo could do at that point was kind of a blank canvas, and that really sort of excited us.
Really nice stuff in there. Yeah, really exciting.
I feel a little spent.
Come on in.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you please state your name?
Klaus von Schwanzkäse.
Afternoon, Mr. Schwanzkäse.
Guten Tag.
What is your role in this artistic endeavor upon which we have just embarked?
I plays bass. I stroke my strings. I like to say Vorsprung durch Technik.
Sehr gut. Supergeil.
Alles klar, Herr Kommissar.
We didn't really want to go through an arduous audition process where we'd have, you know, X amount of drummers coming in and you know, trying them all out. We know that it's a lot to do with personality when it comes to being in a band.
We were looking for somebody whose enthusiasm could rub off on us, who would experience all of these things that we'd already experienced for the first time, and for their excitement to kind of raise us up out of our sort of mid-30s jadedness, you know, and kind of make us into kids again. That is certainly one of the things that Steve has brought to the band. This sort of freshness, this I'll try anything, you know, this kind of excitement.
We toured the States in the beginning of the Meds tour, and we had a band called Everline support us, and Steve Forrest was the drummer in that band then.
It wasn't until, you know, over a year later when news kind of got out that that Placebo was a man down, and that there was perhaps, you know, a vacant space on the drum stool, that lots of drummers started getting in touch, one of which was Steve Forrest.
Early '07 to, you know, later in '08, almost that entire year, I spent looking for work, looking for bands, and there's really good friends of mine, a band called We Are the Fury from Toledo, Ohio, that we had done some tours with previously. So they gave me a call and said, right, why don't you do some tech work for us, you know, kind of stay busy and get out there on the road. So I was out there doing that, and about halfway through, my mom's giving me a call, and she, you know, she's like, hey, remember that band that you toured with Placebo? Yeah, she's like, well, I was just online, and I noticed that their drummer had left and needed a drum, but they specifically put out a thing saying, you know, we're not looking for a drummer right now at this time. So I figured, I was like, all right, well, I had made this video resume with one of my mates that has done some videos for us. So I was like, well, I'll get their contact information, send them this little video resume, say, hey, you know, my name's Steve, I know you're not looking for anybody, but if and when you do start looking for me, maybe consider me. And there's like, I remember sending it to the manager, and like being like really nervous and like, oh, you know, really wanting this gig, and like, the day after, something like that, Alex Weston, the manager, emailed me back and said, hey, yeah, are you free tomorrow? Let's have a chat. And like 5 minutes after, I mean, I was just like bounced off the walls at this point. And about 5 minutes later, I get a phone call, and he's like, it's Steve. Immediately, I knew who it was, because he sounds just like he sings when he talks. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, this is Brian from Placebo. I was like, oh, what's up, man? Like, long time no talk. It was really good. We had about an hour and a half conversation, just kind of getting inside each other's heads. And he's like, yeah, well, why don't you come out to London in January for a couple of weeks and see how it feels? Oh, yeah.
We decided to fly him over from California, just hang out for a while and jam and see whether we connected as people or not. Because that's really important, almost more so than sort of a person's musicianship. So you have to kind of figure out whether or not you want to spend 2 years, 10 years, 20 years of your life with this person living essentially in each other's pockets. Because, I mean, to the outside world, this life of kind of tour buses looks very, very glamorous, but there is not a lot of personal space.
Like, before actually talking to him, I was kind of like, had this idea of like, yeah, it'd be like phone interview sort of thing, kind of get to know me, but we just kind of like really clicked and connected. So within like the first 5 to 10 minutes, like all that kind of went out the window. It was just like I was chatting to one of my mates, you know?
He came over, we hung out. He learned a lot of the stuff, and we just went in for a couple of days, and you know, after a couple of hours when the nerves have subsided, we were jamming new stuff. He's got a very big heart, a big personality, a lot of warmth, a lot of positivity, a lot of energy. As a player, very demonstrative. The shirt was off, the tattoos are out, and you know, and I think for me and Brian, it was just like a bit of a breath of fresh air to kind of have that kind of positive energy.
nerve-wracking. I remember because Alex, she told me, she's like, no, don't worry, just here's the